Assalamu alaikum, guys. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Hana. I am a self-improvement coach, trauma coach, and content creator. I also practice medicine as my full-time job. And I have a series on my channel called Halaqat with Hana, where I basically take you guys through my unfiltered thoughts on different topics related to God-conscious self-improvement. My allergies are beating me up today. I think it's because fall is starting and now like the leaves are starting to loosen up a bit and debris gets kicked up. But I just sneezed so hard that I think I pulled a muscle in my neck. Okay, so today I literally pulled a muscle, you guys. I'm on my way to the gym and I had just come home from my work orientation. I'm starting a new job. I left my old job due to some unfortunate circumstances, which one day I can't wait until I can share the story with all of you guys, inshallah. And I'll make it self-improvement related somehow because you guys need to hear this story. And when I got home, usually whenever I come home from any clinic that I'm working at, I want to jump into the bathroom and take a shower, obviously, because you're around people who are sick and germs and you just want to shower. But then I had a moment that I remembered. I have, I try to go to the gym 4 days a week for weight training, and I'm probably not going to be able to make it tomorrow, so I should go today. So I threw my gym clothes on and hopped in the car, decided to go. And it got me to thinking about the fact that when we're trying to improve ourselves, when you're trying to just be better, a better version of yourself, there are certain things you have to accept as non-negotiables in your life. And the reason why I'm saying this is because I've been in between jobs, like not working for a few weeks now. I had left my old job abruptly. Then I was just searching, and I shouldn't say I wasn't working because I was working on my company, and that definitely took up my time, but I wasn't going into a clinic at designated hours, coming home exhausted like previously. But now that I'm getting back to it, I'm reminded that now there's going to be giant chunks of time in my week where I just can't leave the clinic. And so I'm going to probably be coming home. I get off at like 7:30, so I'll be getting home and it's going to be later in the evening, and I have to decide for myself what are my non-negotiables for bettering myself that I'm going to figure out how to fit in. And this is where a lot of people get lost. I had this video on TikTok that went viral, and it was basically the big reason a lot of people fail, why most people fail at discipline is because when we have this goal of betterment for ourselves, and this can be in anything, right? Whether you're trying to create a new habit, whether you're trying to quit an old habit, whether you're trying to change your thinking patterns and thought patterns and how you see yourself, whether you're trying to improve your relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you're trying to improve your relationship with other people, doesn't matter what it is. When we start thinking about what that goal is, we're motivated, we're excited. There's a little bit of giddiness that we experience, right? It's like it's that air of hope, and we're ready to do what we need to do. So then we say, I'm gonna go to the gym this many times a week, I'm gonna spend this much time with my significant other. We make all these robust plans, but then when push comes to shove and it's time to implement those plans, we don't do it. Why? Because you built the plan based on the motivated version of you. That motivated version of you was willing to do anything. But guess who came back? 1 week later, 2 weeks later, a month later, whatever it might be, the unmotivated version of you showed up. And of course it was going to, because that's kind of your default, right? If you have spent so many years not doing the things you need to do, you haven't built up the skill of discipline. So your default is going to be undisciplined, unmotivated. So that's what you're going to go back to. You have to build your plan based on the unmotivated version of you. So you need to figure out, how can I make sure that this unmotivated version of myself doesn't sabotage my growth? So all these excited plans that I have, what is the lazy version of me going to say to get me to step out of it or not do it or not be accountable? And then how can I build in systems and like create these tricks that are going to make sure that I actually follow through. And somebody asked me to make a video on laziness and how to overcome laziness. So this is going to be the video about laziness, right? Laziness is a cover up for something else, right? So laziness is one version of the unmotivated version of you, right? When you think about laziness, there's a few things that are going on. So first things first, like identify what is a laziness covering up. Is laziness covering up depression? Right? There are a lot of people, and it always frustrates me, right? You'll just like parents will call their kids lazy, and I can look at them and be like, no, your kid's not lazy, your kid's depressed, right? So there's a different way of addressing that is not going to be the same way you think to address it, which is to yell at them and insult them and try to force them into doing whatever and just worsening their depression. So is it covering for depression? Is laziness covering for burnout? Are you just burnt out? You've been going for so long that your gas tank is on empty and there's nothing more you can do. Is laziness covering a lack of hope? Like, why try so hard if it's not going to get me what I want? Or maybe there's self-defeating thinking there, like, hey, nothing ever works out for me, so why am I going to even try? Or is laziness, this is a fourth one, is laziness covering the fact that your goals are too small? So they're not strong enough to pull you out. You haven't found anything to live for yet, you know? So to defeat laziness, you need to first start off and think about, like, what kind of laziness do you have and why is it there? That's something a lot of people overlook. Like, we really oversimplify laziness, but even think about it for yourself. When you say I'm lazy, do you really believe that you're lazy? Is that actually, if you might, but do you really believe that? And if not, then what is it at its core? I always say, like, to defeat the enemy, you need to know who the enemy is. And very often we neglect doing that deeper work and deeper thinking because it's uncomfortable, and like you have to actually come face to face with who you are as a person, and that means also recognizing that you fell short in a lot of ways, and that like makes us feel bad about ourselves. But you have to do it in order to grow, right? So that's one. I would say the other thing when it comes to addressing laziness and just like figuring out how to motivate yourself, right? It's having a big enough why. And you hear this all the time, but when I say big enough why, it's not to be dreamy, right? A lot of people are like, oh my gosh, like, have your vision, what's your why? And it's supposed to be this magnificent paragraph explaining exactly what you want in life. And sometimes it doesn't really need to be that intricate. Sometimes it's just like, what is it that makes doing this thing, whatever it is, over and over again worth it? What are the long-term consequences that are making the painful part of the process worth it for you? I'll give you an example, right? I'm going to the gym 4 times a week, weight training, and now I'm reintroducing cardio as well. I'm busy. When I was working at another clinic, and I was working till 9 p.m. And so sometimes literally at 9 p.m. after I would go to the gym. And sometimes I would go in the morning, and I would just have to figure out how to bring it into my day. And sometimes I was sore, and sometimes I was unmotivated, and sometimes I was just feeling low, like, and I just wasn't in the mood to be there. But I would still get myself up and figure out how to get myself dressed, tell myself just get to the door. Right now I really enjoy it. But there was a learning curve. My why was what got me there. So my whys were several, okay? First and foremost, as a medical professional and a clinician, I'm the one diagnosing and treating patients. So many of the diseases that I see my patients having are secondary to poor nutrition and lack of physical activity, lack of cardiac strength and like cardiac efficiency. And that could have all been addressed if when they were younger, they spent time working out, and especially strength training, and ate well, and then sustained that. I don't know if you guys can hear like the revving of, is that a Camaro? I don't even know. I don't know cars, guys, but I can't stand it when people do that. You're ruining the YouTube video, sir. Anyways, I'd see these patients and I knew that that intervention long term would have prevented them so much pain. Nobody, like, when you're young, you don't think about it. You really don't realize why. You don't realize it. And it's so easy to overlook what having congestive heart failure looks like, what having had a heart attack looks like. What does it look like when you can no longer walk up the stairs, right? Certain things are irreversible. I saw that and I was like, I am not going to let that be me because I know better. And I have an opportunity where I can actually ask people who know nutrition, right? And I studied nutrition, so that one was like too difficult for me, but who know weight training, and I can ask them for advice that they can guide me. And that was one. Two is, guess what? Vanity. You guys, it's okay to be a little vain. Yes, a lot of us go to the gym because we want to have a particular look, and that's fine. For me, that was important to me. I liked the way I looked beforehand, don't get me wrong. But I love the way I look now because aesthetic-wise, I just think it looks good. But also it represents a certain level of strength. When you have muscle and your muscles are toned, and it just like it, you feel good about yourself when you look in the mirror, right? And then obviously there's another side to that for me, which is like I'm not the only one that's going to enjoy looking at me. I wear hijab, so most everyone is not going to ever see what gains I'm making in the gym. That doesn't, it's like it seems counterintuitive. But at the same time, as a Muslim woman, when I get married, my husband deserves to appreciate that, right? So for me, it's almost like here's your future gift for the man that I marry, inshallah. So that was reason number 2. And then reason number 3 is just there's a cognitive and mental benefit, right? Exercise is and always will be the most potent antidepressant. And as someone who has struggled with depression for a very long time, even when it didn't fully go away, working out 100% improved the degree of depression that I had. And this was crazy for me because that was the first time in my life where I had something that sustainably improved my symptoms. Those were my whys, and those whys are strong enough to get to me through. And like, I'm very grateful for them. So think about, what are your whys? And if you don't have a why yet, then figure one out, right? Because there's got to be something. Okay, what else can you do to improve laziness? Sometimes there's a level of investigation we have to do. Sometimes we have to look for the reasons on the other side. So example, part of my investigation was seeing patients. I'd see my patients and I knew what they looked like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, even 40s and 30s actually. And that was the other side. So I was like, I don't want that to be my other side. So what do I have to do to make sure that that's not my other side, right? Now, of course, I can, certain things could happen medically wise that have nothing to do with nutrition or fitness. And at that point, that's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But what we can do is risk mitigate, right? My dad always says that, take the precaution, take the ways, right? Take the opportunities to protect yourself from these risks as best as you can. So what's on the other side? If you're lazy about your physical activity, okay, start researching what happens over a decade, 2 decades, 3 decades of not being physically active. What happens to your heart? What happens to your brain? Your brain shrinks, you guys. In case, I know we talk a lot about the heart when it comes to exercise, but the brain shrinks. And there's a natural shrinking that happens in general, just as we age, but it is accelerated. And that's why lack of physical activity, lack of cardiovascular efficiency is a huge contributor to dementia. So that's definitely something to think about. So look at the other side and do your research. What does it look like if you are, maybe it's like you want to advance in your career, but then you're too lazy to. Well, what does it look like to be making the same amount that you're making? What does it look like at retirement? Are you going to have enough for retirement? Do you have enough to be putting aside and investing on your own? Because don't trust the government to be having something, you guys, Social Security and all of its craziness, like we're probably not going to be getting to enjoy that. So it's really important to be taking that into your own hands if you live in the United States. But yeah, so just do your research and figure out what are the consequences you will reap if you do not do the things that you need to do. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes if you're motivated by fear, it's enough to knock you out of laziness. The next thing is like find people who are motivated towards the goal that you want to be motivated towards. Like, there's something about being around people who have ambition and that just makes you feel so motivated. When you are in the right rooms, so much of, like, you know, they always talk about this in business and marketing and branding and everything, you know, go to the right rooms, be in the right rooms. But when you're in the right room, the opportunities that open up to you are insane. And it's almost like, if you want to talk law of attraction type of thing, right? It really is. When you're putting in the time and the effort to seek out those opportunities, eventually you're going to land. Eventually you are going to find the place that you need to be. And you're going to be able to access levels of success you weren't able to access beforehand, because you have the resources now. That's really what it is, right? People are resources. The knowledge they have are resources. The good, like, energy that they give you, you know, when you're around people and you just feel good about yourself or you feel more motivated, that is a resource, right? So get yourself around people who can provide those resources to you, and that holds you accountable as well. You can also, sometimes people find, if you find someone who's like was also previously lazy but now, ooh, the sun is really pretty right now because it's setting. If you can find people with the same goals, I'm sorry you guys, I'm like, my brain is all over the place today. If you can find people with the same goals as you who are actually going to be able to maintain motivation and you can team up with them, that's awesome too. One thing I would warn about that is sometimes you'll find people who, like, are, you know, they're motivated for a short period of time, but then they fall off and then you end up falling off, and it can condition you to being okay with like laziness on a different level, where you feel good that you did something for a short period of time. So just be mindful. I used to love seeing, there were like these TikToks, or I think I saw on Instagram, and it's like when you and your friends stuck to the gym, you know, you stuck to your gym plan or whatever, and then it's like a time lapse of them over 3 years, and you see the befores and afters, and you're like, dang, that's an awesome friend to have who is able to hold you accountable for that long, and vice versa. Find those people. And the last thing I will say is, remember, build the plan for the unmotivated version of you and figure out your non-negotiables. The gym is my non-negotiable. So even though I'm going back to work, and shifts can be long and shifts can be tiring, and plus I'm building a company and there are other big things happening in my life, you know, it's a non-negotiable. So if I got to go after work, I won't go before work, because I'm not that 6 a.m. girly. I'm not the person to be working out at 6 a.m. You won't be catching me do that. But if it means after work, it's on my days off, like whatever I got to do, that's worth it to me. So find what your non-negotiables are. All right, guys, that was 18 minutes of my nonsense. I just got to the gym. I'm gonna go work out. I kind of don't want to, but again, what's my why? My why is big enough. Not trying to have congestive heart failure. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and comment below. If you're a subscriber, please comment I subscribed, so I know you watched the entire video. I'm going to reply with something special for you guys. And that is it. Assalamu alaikum.